It happened in front of everyone. My sister sobbed into Mom's arms, pointing at me. She stole Dad's money. My father's voice thundered, "Get out, Jade," loud enough for the neighbors to hear. No one looked at me. Not even Mom. I was 16, barefoot on the porch, rain soaking through my shirt, my heart beating louder than his anger. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just walked into the dark, clutching the only thing I had left, my truth. Weeks later, when she bragged about it, someone else heard every word. And that changed everything. Stay with me. It gets louder from here. Back then we looked like any other family in our quiet Ohio neighborhood. Neatly trimmed lawn, white porch, pumpkins on the steps every fall. From the outside the Smiths were steady, polite, ordinary. Inside though, there was always a scale I could never balance. Dad worked long hours at the auto shop and measured worth in obedience. Mom kept the house spotless and hated making a scene. Haley, my little sister, was the soft one. The one who knew how to cry just enough to melt everyone's heart. Me. I was the quiet achiever, the one who believed love could be earned by doing everything right. I remember Saturday mornings when I'd make pancakes while Dad read the paper. If Haley burned hers, he laughed and said she was still learning. If I missed a spot on the counter, he sighed like it ruined his day. When I brought home an art ribbon, Mom said, "That's nice, Jade, but you should focus on real subjects." But when Haley landed a background role in a Christmas play, she filmed it like a Hollywood premiere. Dad even printed flyers to hand out at church. I told myself that was just parenting, that every family had favorites. I smiled through it, cleaned up after Haley, folded her laundry, finished her homework, lent her my sweaters that always came back stained. I thought kindness could fix anything. I thought being the good one mattered. That illusion cracked slowly, little things. The way Mom hushed me if I corrected Haley, or how Dad's face softened only when she spoke. One night during dinner, Haley spilled grape juice across the table. It splashed onto my sketchbook. I froze. Dad snapped, "Don't overreact," then smiled at her. "It's okay, honey. Accidents happen." My hands shook as I blotted the pages, pretending it didn't sting. That's when I realized a simple, brutal truth. My place in that house wasn't to be loved. It was to make loving her easier for everyone else. And still I stayed quiet, because that was what peace looked like in our family. Silence wrapped in smiles. The older we got, the clearer it became. Haley was the sun, and I was the shadow that made her shine brighter. Every compliment to her came with a quiet comparison aimed at me. When she got AC in math, Dad said she just needed time. When I brought home an A, he said, "Don't brag." At church, people said, "Your girls are so different." Mom always laughed. "Yes, one's the angel, the other's artistic." I knew what she meant. Artistic was her polite word for difficult. I kept trying to win them over, staying after school to help in the art room, volunteering at the library, decorating for Haley's birthday. But when the guests arrived, Mom whispered, "Stay out of the pictures, honey. Let her have the spotlight." I nodded, pretending it didn't matter. But when the camera flashed and I wasn't in the frame, something inside me cracked. At dinner, Dad ruffled Haley's hair. "She's such a sweetheart. Never gives us trouble." I laughed too quietly because the alternative was crying. Then came the whispers at school. Someone, probably Haley, told her friends I was jealous and always needed attention. People started watching me differently, waiting for me to prove her right. I worked harder to stay invisible. It almost worked, until the missing money. Dad had been saving for a new car part, about $200 tucked in an envelope in his desk. That evening, Haley came into my room, eyes red. "Dad's furious," she whispered. "He can't find the money." "Maybe he misplaced it," I said. She hesitated. "You should talk to him before he finds out." Minutes later, Dad burst into my room, veins bulging. "Where is it?" "What?" I blinked. He tore through my drawers, clothes flying, until his hand reached under my pillow. The envelope. My breath froze. Haley gasped behind him. Perfect timing. "I told her not to," she cried. "I told her it wasn't worth it." Mom covered her mouth. Dad's face turned the color of fury. "After everything we've done for you." "Dad, I didn't." "Enough." The word hit harder than any slap. Silence hummed in my skull. Haley's tears dripped onto the floor. My heartbeat thrashed in my chest. That was the moment I realized there was no space for truth in that house. Lies had taken root too deep. That night, I heard them whispering downstairs, Dad's low anger, Mom's frantic voice, Haley's staged sobs between them like punctuation marks. On the stairs, gripping the railing, I listened to my own family plan my exile. She needs to learn a lesson, Dad said. Maybe she'll change, Mom replied. She scares me, Haley whispered. I wanted to scream that I was still their daughter. But looking into that dark hallway, I understood. No matter what I said, they had already chosen the version of me they wanted to believe. And I wasn't in it. 3 nights later it happened. The October wind howled outside, rattling the windows. I sat cross-legged on my bed, sketching under the soft desk lamp. The smell of pencil shavings, the quiet hum of my playlist. Everything felt still. Then the door slammed open. Dad stormed in, face flushed. Mom followed, clutching Haley, who trembled in her arms. She confessed, Mom said quietly. She saw you take it. My pencil rolled off the bed. My mind went blank. Take what? I whispered. Dad shoved the crumpled envelope in my face. The money. Don't play dumb. I didn't. He didn't let me finish. Dad yanked the blanket off my bed, flipped my pillow, and there it was. An envelope filled with cash I had never seen before. My heart dropped so hard I couldn't breathe. Haley covered her mouth, eyes wide and wet. I'm sorry, Jade, she sobbed. I didn't want to tell them, but I couldn't hide it anymore. I stared at her, stunned. You put it there, didn't you? Dad's hand slammed on my desk so hard the lamp flickered. Watch your tone, he barked. You should be ashamed. Mom looked at me, lips trembling. Why would you do this to us? To your sister. The world blurred. I didn't steal anything, I whispered, voice cracking. You have to believe me. But they didn't. The decision was already written across their faces. Dad grabbed a black trash bag, stuffed random pieces of my life inside. Socks, a sweater, a pair of jeans, and shoved it into my chest. Get out. This house doesn't harbor thieves. I stared at him, my fingers numb around the plastic. Dad, please. Go. Right now. Mom didn't speak. She just held Haley closer, whispering, It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy's here. I'll never forget the way Haley looked at me. How her tears suddenly stopped. How the corner of her mouth twitched upward for just a second. Smile, small and cruel. And in that moment I knew. The front door opened. Cold air rushed in, cutting through my skin like glass. Dad shoved me out. The trash bag thudded onto the porch. My bare feet hit the icy concrete. The door slammed. The lock clicked. Silence. For a long time I just stood there, staring at the wood grain of the door, the thin strip of light glowing under it. I thought about knocking, screaming until someone listened. But something in me broke clean instead. Even if I shouted until my voice vanished, no one would open that door again. So I turned away. The night was bitter, wind slicing through my thin pajamas. My breath came out in white clouds as I stepped off the porch. The asphalt burned like fire under my feet, but I kept walking. Leaves scraped along the sidewalk. The moon hung low. Somewhere far off, a dog barked once, then fell silent. By the time I reached the small park near school, my legs were shaking. I sat on a cold bench, hugging the trash bag to my chest. Inside, I felt the corner of my sketchbook pressing against my ribs. A tiny piece of who I used to be. I stayed there for hours, shivering as the streetlights blinked. When dawn finally bled into the sky, one thought circled my mind, steady and cold. If they could throw me away so easily, then I would learn to live without them. The first nights blurred together. Park benches, bus stops, the empty library staircase. I learned to stay invisible. I sat in the farthest corner of the library until closing, pretending to read. When the lights went out, I'd sneak back in, curl behind the old bookshelf, and wrap my jacket around my knees. The hum of the air vent became my lullaby. Sometimes I went to the gas station. The clerk had stopped asking questions. I'd rest my head on the plastic table by the window, the smell of gasoline and burnt coffee thick in the air. Every time the door chimed, I flinched, expecting Dad's voice. It never came. Days passed, quiet, hungry, cold. And then one afternoon I saw her. Grandma Maggie stood outside the library in her gray coat, holding a paper bag. You look like you haven't eaten, she said softly. I froze, terrified she'd drag me home. Instead she handed me the bag, sandwiches, an apple, a folded 20. Stay where you are, Jade. Let me handle this. I didn't understand then. But I would. 2 weeks later I learned what she had done. She had hosted a family dinner at her house. My parents were there, proud, certain they'd done the right thing. Haley laughed, showing pictures on her phone, the star of the night. And that's when she said it. The words that changed everything. "You won't believe what I pulled," she bragged, smirking at her cousin over FaceTime. I slipped the money under her pillow and cried a little. They totally bought it. She's gone now. Problem solved. Grandma heard every word. She didn't interrupt. Didn't blink. She picked up her iPad, hit record, and let the truth expose itself. The next morning she texted my mom. "Meet me at the church after service." Alone. I didn't know any of this yet. While I sat in the library sketching with numb fingers, Grandma confronted them in the small prayer room behind the altar. She played the recording, Haley's voice echoing off the walls. Every lie, every giggle. Mom broke down sobbing. Dad went pale. Grandma didn't yell. She simply said, "You threw away a child for a lie. Now you'll make it right." By that afternoon they had no choice. Grandma made them post a public apology on Facebook and in the church group. She forwarded the recording to my school principal. My name cleared within hours. The same people who'd whispered behind my back now commented, "Poor Jade." Dad's phone buzzed nonstop. Mom hid inside the house. Haley locked herself in her room. That night Grandma came to find me again. When I saw her in the library doorway, I dropped my pencil and ran. She held me tight. "You don't need to defend yourself anymore," she whispered. "The truth spoke for you." Later, in her warm kitchen over soup and soft lamplight, I finally let myself cry, not from pain but from relief. For the first time in weeks I wasn't invisible. Grandma kept me with her after that. Her red brick house smelled like cinnamon and coffee. Every morning she hummed while frying eggs, pretending not to notice when I lingered in the doorway, just to be sure she was real. She never asked me to forgive anyone. She only said, "Let the truth do what it's meant to do, heal you, not shame you." At school, teachers who once avoided me now met my eyes. My English teacher slipped me a note. "I'm sorry. I should have asked, not assumed." I didn't need more than that. Haley avoided me completely, walking the opposite direction in the hall. At church, people whispered, but this time the weight wasn't on my shoulders. It was on theirs. One weekend, Grandma brought me new running shoes. Navy blue with white laces. "You need to feel the ground again," she said. So I ran in the mornings through quiet streets, past houses still asleep. The air was sharp and clean. Every step felt like reclaiming something they had taken. A month later, Dad tried to call. I stared at his name glowing on the screen, the same name that once ordered me out into the cold. I didn't answer. Some doors once closed should stay that way. Now I sit on Grandma's porch, sketchbook open on my knees, the sun sinking over the maple trees. The October wind still blows, but it doesn't bite anymore. I draw the scene, lights spilling across the yard, leaves swirling like gold sparks, and I smile. They once thought throwing me out would erase me. Instead it set me free. Have you ever had to lose everything just to find peace?